Hey, this is Jimmy with Cascade Components. We're here to do the installation of the transition Spire and Patrol links. For this installation, you will need an 8, a 6, and a 5mm Allen wrench. So first things first, just to make life easier, you're going to want to pull off the rear wheel, just get that out of the way. Loosen that guy up. Set your wheel off to the side. All right, now we already have the link on there, so we're just going to uninstall and reinstall the exact same link. So take your 6 and your 5mm Allen wrench and remove these seat stay bolts onto the other side. All right, now we're going to drop the seat stays off of the link. Now, this part here, there are a couple of spacers in here. If you hold your hands under it, you can usually catch the spacers when you remove everything so that they don't just fall off. Just let that hang. Grab all the spacers off there. These are all the same, so you don't have to keep track of which order they go on. Just slide them over the hardware because it's easy for me to keep track. All right, now I like to loosen these guys first just because it's easier to loosen things when everything's still mostly bolted together. Loosen that, and the other side. Now for the main pivot, oftentimes you can get away with just using the one wrench, not having a wrench on the other side if you hold it with your hand. There we go. Now that's all the way loose, but just going to leave that floating there while we pull off the trunnion bolts. Leaving the main pivot in place just keeps it so that random spacers don't fall off and the link isn't swinging around too much while you're doing the disassembly. All right, now we got the shock unbolted. Just swing that out of the way and grab the trunnion spacers out of there. Again, just keeping track of where stuff goes. All right, so now we got all that taken out. Now we're gonna remove the main pivot. Now there are a couple of spacers in here again, so keep an eye out for little parts trying to fall. Just slide that off. Just gonna grab the spacer out of there. There we go. All right, so now that we have that link uninstalled, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the exact same link. Drop your spacers for the main pivot in place. You just want to kind of hold them there. Make sure they don't slide away while you slide everything into place. Once you get one of the pivots through, everything will kind of stay in place better. Sometimes this is such a pain. There we go. Got that one in. The other side, slide up by hand real quick. And then, like with the disassembly, we're not going to go and crank everything down right away. Just snug it up. Makes life easier to do the whole assembly if everything isn't as tight as absolutely possible. So now we're going to do the trunnion bolts for the shock. Easiest way I've found to do these is put the spacer on, then slide the bolt in halfway so the spacer stays put. All right, so now the spacers are sitting there held nicely, and you just let the shock swing down and into place. It's a tight fit, so just keep an eye that those spacers don't try and go anywhere. Get them started by hand really quick, then the rest of the way with the Allen wrench. All right, now on to fun pivots. For these little spacers are gonna try and go places. It can be helpful if you put a little dab of grease on them so that they kind of stick in place. We're not gonna do that here, just to save a little time. So we're gonna kind of struggle through this maybe. All right, now take the rear triangle, swing it back, and then I found you can kind of pinch the spacers while you slide the rear triangle on, like so. There we go. That went better than expected. All right, now everything in here is a pretty tight fit. It's not that well lined up usually, so it takes a little bit of jostling around, or if that doesn't work because it's really off, which it likely is. I've got that one easy enough. You can also take an Allen wrench and just kind of slide it around in there until everything's lined up a little better. There we go. Slide that one all the way through. Then you just take your bolts that go on the outside, thread those on. And just remember, as you're going through and doing this, assemble everything as far as Loctite and torque goes to the manufacturer's specs. So look up transitions assembly specifications for this linkage and replicate those here. As usual, just save a little time with the install video. We're not going to torque everything to spec. So just go through and tighten all these up. Then again with the main pivot, sometimes you can get away with not having a wrench on both sides. Sometimes you can't. There we go. Those are all tightened up. So now we're going to go and drop the wheel back on. All right, so now that the link is on there, I'm just gonna unthread the valve cap really quick. Now, this guy right side up. Just wanna do the usual clearance check, make sure everything's all good.